Hello, this is Eric Hansen with the Microsoft SQL Server Query Processing team, and I'm going to introduce to you today a dramatic new query performance enhancement for data warehouses and data marts. It's called the Columnstore index. So I'm going to do it by way of demonstration. I have a 2 billion row fact table in this database. It's called Purchase 2B. There are a couple of dimension tables as well, the date dimension and media dimension. And here's a classic kind of star join query with grouping and aggregation that's typical of what you'd see in a data warehouse or a data mart reporting application. And on the left, I have an index hint that's going to force the system to use a clustered B tree on date when accessing the Purchase 2B table. So this is going to use what we call the row store, which is the existing technology for accessing data row by row that is available in SQL Server and has been, throughout all its history. This clustered index is actually compressed using page compression. So you could say it's a fair fight when I'm going to compare the row store based query processing capability with the column store capability. And SQL Server's row store query processing capability is actually very efficient and performs quite well. SQL Server 2008 introduced star join query optimization and page compression, and those two things together can give you very impressive query performance. But let's start this. And so now, while this is running against the row store, on the right, you'll see I have the same query, except it's got no index hint. And the query optimizer is going to make a cost-based decision to use the column store index when accessing Purchase 2B. There's actually two more queries here. So there's 3 queries, not just one. So I'm going to start those going, and you'll see that in just 2 seconds, all 3 of these queries finished. So it took 38 seconds to run just the first query without the column store. We're using the traditional row store based query processing capability. So if I run it again, you'll see that all 3 of the queries finished in just over 1 second. Because they didn't have to compete for time with the other query that was running at the same time. So the hardware that this is running on is a 2-processor server. Each processor has 4 cores. Hyperthreading is enabled, so there's 16 hardware threads on the machine. There's 48 gigs of RAM and 6 hard drives, and the data is striped across the hard drives. So it's a relatively economical server. It's not a monster machine by any stretch of the imagination. It's something that most organizations could afford. So another neat thing about this technology is that it's based on VertiPack. VertiPack is the columnar data representation capability that also is used in SQL Server Analysis Services and Power Pivot. So we've tied together all 3 of those systems, SQL Server, Power Pivot, and Analysis Services, with the same column store technology underpinning VertiPack. And we think your business analysts are going to love this fast interactive response time they're going to get with column store indexes, and we think you're going to be excited to experiment with it as well when you get your hands on SQL Server Denali. Thank you.